Hi everyone, welcome back to my weekly vlog. So apologies for the late post, but I had to do some errands before filming this. And by the way, can you see that I'm actually not using Wuta camera and I'm using the regular non-filtered camera, but with a difference. So I put on lashes that I actually got from Shopee and it only cost me $4. It was magnetic lashes that stay on. If you can see, it's quite... So what happens is that you apply a magnetic eyeliner that has probably iron in it, and then you stick these on, which has tiny little magnets on the lash band to your lashes. So you don't have to use glue or to use eyeliner as well. So it doubles up as a multi-purpose, and it's just a way to get lashes without having to do lash extensions, which is more permanent. So I'm pretty happy with how much it costs versus how it looked and the quality. And that actually reminded me of this article I read on Wired.co, which is about drop shipping. So I'm not sure whether any of you guys have heard of this term before, but essentially what it does is that people will actually resell products that they find on AliExpress by marketing and targeting people on social media and using ads. Once they have received an order, they will buy it from the original seller from AliExpress and have the person ship it out to the buyer. And this way, it's called drop shipping because it's a fulfillment that does not have any warehousing or you don't hold any goods. So the shipping takes a long while, and what was interesting is the profit margins and how they have managed to really sell a lot of interesting products. Some people might think that there might be moral or ethical issues with this drop shipping thing, but I don't know. After I researched a little bit about it, I started getting a lot of ads about drop shipping and how to identify the viral product that you can sell. And I do think that it's true that the buyer is the person that has to do the research, and if you see something and you want it and you buy it from a drop shipper, that's on you, because you can find the same product on Amazon or AliExpress directly, but you might be not so convinced, or at the moment it's an impulse purchase. So yeah, that's drop shipping. So I thought it was pretty interesting. Not that I'm going to change my day job to do that for sure. And speaking of something that has also happened throughout the week, what I did was to complete the Chloe Ting challenge that I mentioned in last week's vlog. And yeah, I finished it, but I, to be honest, did not see much of a result. Though I must say, visually, I don't really see that, because when I first started 15 days ago, I decided to do on a whim, and at that point my tummy was not very bloated or round as well. But what was interesting to me is that even though there's no very strong physical change, I could feel the abs inside. I mean, they didn't come out visually, they were quite shy, hiding behind all my fats, but they are there, so I can feel them. Feel basically my core getting a little bit stronger, which is good, because for my entire life I have not done any sort of strength training or core training. So this was somewhat of a misguided way to get into that, even though all I wanted was to see some rock hard abs, which I really think is not very possible in 2 weeks with just a 10-minute ab workout, because all the videos that you see on her success video features are the ones that did the shred challenge, which includes another 30 minutes of HIIT. And that was insane. I mean, I did it yesterday just for fun to see how it feels like. I think I will be so tired if I do that every day. I will definitely have abs, but I will also be very, very tired. So I don't think I'm going to attempt that at all. But I do think that the abs challenge, or rather the abs workout thing, 10 minutes a day, right before I shower, so it doesn't matter if I sweat, sounds like actually very doable. So I think I'm going to continue doing it, and who knows, maybe one day the abs might pop out and say hi. And so going to the last topic of today's vlog, on Friday I participated in my friend's project 555, and it's essentially my friend and 4 of her friends got together to want to talk about anything or topics which interest them for 5 slides, 15 minutes right? And then they have 3 speakers every Friday, so 555. My subject was actually how do you eat less meat without really trying. And initially it was more of what does it mean to be a pescatarian, then it became what is it like to be a flexitarian, and then finally when I was doing up the deck I was thinking actually it's not that difficult for me, and I thought I would just share some tips with people as to how to do it. I thought I would just take you guys through this presentation and I'm going to switch over to doing a Zoom, and yeah, we'll see what happens. So I'm going to take you through how do you eat less meat without trying. Did you know that 8% of the world's population is vegetarian? And that is a very small percentage. It has been very trendy nowadays to be some form of a tarian. So there is different terms and I'm going to just quickly define them. So flexitarian basically means that you are generally plant-based, but you can also eat meat occasionally. And that is something that I have been for a while now after discovering this term, because I do think that it does describe what I do. So you can incorporate meat into your diet, but less, and of course, try not to have it processed. So no ham, no nuggets, or no processed sausages, for example. And then there's the pescatarian, which is basically vegetarian, but you can also eat seafood. Vegetarian will be just no meat. However, there's still dairy and there is still eggs in there. And then lastly, vegan would be 100% no animals in the diet or the lifestyle. So you can't have meat or dairy or even things like honey, which is an animal product. And you can't also carry leather goods if you are looking at a vegan lifestyle. So that one is the strictest because there's a lot of animal products or byproducts in our lives and we consume them sort of unknowingly. So this is something that is pretty tough. But on a scale, flexitarian to vegan, I think flexitarian is the easiest for everyone to start considering before going a little bit more into the diet spectrum. And my personal journey is really about how I started on being a flexitarian, and I decided to eat less meat due to a number of reasons. There's no one reason, and of course religion is not there, and I also don't see any big changes in my health when I began on this diet, because it was not my driver anyway. If I wanted to eat less meat for clean, healthy reasons, then I would be much more mindful as to the kind of vegetables or the plants that I will be putting into my body, to be honest. So not just for health, but mostly I think it was because of more information reaching me, learning more about how animals are farmed and how are they, treated in large scale industrial areas, as well as of course the environmental impact of poultry and meat farming and all that. So all that information came to me and I decided to make a choice, because now there are more options, there are more choices for you to lead the life that you want. And of course, that cannot be done without economic ability. The fact that I can actually do this, given that I do earn a salary, that I'm able to make these choices. And it surpassed my expectations. I didn't really expect it to work as much, but unconsciously, I have started to eat way less meat, and the diet has stuck because it became something I didn't even think about until I was asked to talk about it. And then I realized, oh yeah, actually I've been doing this for a while. So how can you do the same, right? So the first tip number 1, change your environment. And I think this is the most important tip I can give, because when your environment is changed, you have to change with it. And so you design the environment the way you want it. So when the time comes for you to make a decision, it has already been pre-made for you, that you won't have to do the hard thing. So human beings are funny creatures. We try to not do so much work. So if you do the work technically beforehand, or make it seem much easier, then we will automatically gravitate towards that. And that is something that I realized. So for example, if you do change what's in your fridge or what you buy on a regular basis, then you have no choice but to actually follow along. And that won't feel like you're actively making a choice every single time, because much like how Steve Jobs, when he was around, only wore black turtlenecks because he didn't want to make a decision as to what to wear every morning, given the fact that willpower and decision making is finite in a person's day. He didn't want to spend the extra energy. And it's the same thing with your diet as well. If you don't want to spend extra energy to think about what to eat, then you design it in a way that makes it easier. Number two, it's about repetition. Making it stick is also key because that is the start of habit formation, which is repetition, repetition, repetition. And if you do it enough times, your body will stick to it and it will just go on autopilot. And the third tip, which is very important, is to be flexible, because if your goal is to eat less meat without even trying, then you should be able to have meat whenever your body craves for it or whenever your friends ask you out for a barbecue, because that's the whole point of you eating less meat without trying. You shouldn't be that harsh on yourself. And funnily enough, for me, when I know that I have an option to be able to eat meat whenever I can, I don't end up craving for it. So I think there's some sort of reverse psychology here at work. Because you have the option, you don't actually need to activate the option. It's a little bit like keeping that spare cigarette, in your drawer for when a craving hits, but you don't actually will touch it. And the fourth tip, last tip actually, is that us as consumers have the power. So it is by no strange accident that nowadays we see a lot more innovation in the food industry, because there are more pressures and growing amount of people who are looking to more plant-based alternatives. And hence you have companies like Impossible, Beyond, and Corn coming out with plant-based protein that tastes very similar to meat, and something that for someone who is trying to eat less would be able to act as nicotine patch for your smoking addiction. So this is interesting because us as solo consumers might not have that much power, but on the whole, if we do demand to eat more healthy, more greens, more locally sourced or sustainably sourced ingredients, then the suppliers will have no choice but to give in to the demand. So we need to demand for it to actually be supplied to us and not expect things to change if we ourselves don't change. So that's the fourth tip. And of course, final one, ultimately the future of food and of yourself is what you make of it. So that's something that we should all think about in our daily lives, is to be more mindful about our diet and about the food that we consume, because you are what you eat. So you should think about what you are eating to be who you are, if that makes sense. Right. So yeah, that's my presentation for how to eat less meat without trying. And let's switch over. Alright, so that was the presentation, and I hope you have gained some useful tips coming out from that. That will be the end of my vlog this week, and I hope everyone will stay safe, stay home, stay curious, and I'll see you next week. Bye!